was the stupidest thing your horniness made you do? A few years ago in college, back when I had a Tinder and that was a thing. I was swiping right on literally every woman that I saw and sorting through the ones that matched with me, to see if any were truly interested. Didn't really have a care in the world about what they looked like, just wanted to see if they were interested in me specifically. We could sort out the intimacy part in person. As you well know, that did not go as planned. For flavor, you should know that I was near a very specific region of Appalachia. Very rural and very secluded, in a sense. Anyways, I matched with someone who lived about 20 to 25 minutes away from campus. At this time, I did not care at all to drive that far for some good fun. Mind you, this is a place I have never been in my entire life, but I'm super horny and go anyway. So, I'm about 10 to 15 minutes away from her house. I'm looking avidly for it and I notice that the road has gotten really dark. I finally found light. It's a single pole with a light on it, in the middle of the woods, basically. There's a 2-lane road that's right off the highway that goes on past this single light and a giant building with a playground next to it. I think nothing of this scenario at the time, as peak horniness. So, I'm driving out onto this road that I believe is the road that she lives on. I drive for about 5 to 8 minutes before I realize there's literally nothing on this road, except trees. Literally pitch black, surrounded by trees, and very few houses. Every 1,000 feet or so, I'd see a house or a cluster of houses closely knit together. Oh yeah, I forgot the best part of explaining where I am. The road had disappeared. It was no longer asphalt, it was literally just gravel and dirt. All I can think is, what the hell am I doing here? I can't believe I am this horny. So, I literally stop in the middle of the road and say to myself, what is wrong with you? Are you really this horny? So, anyways, I continue down this road until finally, I reach a house that she described to me, that looks exactly like she explained, except with one wondrous bonus. It is covered in hubcaps. Now, I mean, a few wouldn't be covered and probably wouldn't be that big of a deal, but I literally mean, cannot see the paint or sight on the side of the house, except for one side in particular. I pull up in the driveway and throw her a message that I'm here, because honestly at this point, what do I have to lose? I am literally on the set of Deliverance. Nonetheless, she comes out and jumps in my vehicle. Lo and behold, she's probably a 4/10 at the most. Yes, I am a butthead and I'm being completely honest here. We start talking and getting to know one another. About 20 minutes go by and we're just simply chatting away at general stuff, when she springs on me, if you're a good kisser, I'll suck you off. Insert white guy blinking meme. So, we started making out and she says to me, start driving back out of here. I know a cool spot where no one will bother us. So, we're driving back down this gravel and dirt road, and she's going to town on me. Yes, you probably guessed it, we finally get back to the single light and giant building. Turns out it's a community center for children that is closed during the night. She tells me to pull in and park. I feel somewhat safe, as there's at least an effing light near us. We get out and go over behind the building and sit on a wooden bench next to an AC unit. Why is it there? Who in God's name knows? So, she's going to town on me, when I look over and see a buck the size of an elk that absolutely stuns me, staring right at us. I say absolutely not a single thing. I just sit there and watch it as it is watching us. When I say a buck, this thing was realistically the size of an effing moose. I was quite literally petrified. Here's the kicker, it's not even 30 feet away from me. How the hell I didn't hear it beforehand is beyond me, and how it didn't dart off or make enough noise for us to hear it prior, eludes me to this day. Anyways, after I settled into this is my reality thought. I'm just sitting there, watching this buck eat grass as she's choking me down. I finally finish and she gets up and sits down next to me. I look over and say, there's a buck over there. It seems friendly. Why did I said this? I don't even know, but I always chalk it up as post-nut loss of proper brain functioning. She immediately screams at the size of the buck and it darts off, not only scaring the complete crap out of me, causing me to go into full-on panic mode and also dart away. However, my pants are on the ground so I am waddling away like a penguin in the fastest way possible. I get to my vehicle and look back and it's gone, so I pull up my pants and take her home. We get on the road to go back to the house I picked her up from. On the way back she says, can you take me to my dad's house instead? Mind you, I am still suffering from post-nut loss of proper brain functioning, as I have not told her immediately hell no. So, anyways, we're going back to her dad's house this time and it's even further than the first house I picked her up from. At this point, I am well over 30 minutes from the highway alone. We get back to her father's place and to my amazement, it's actually just a normal effing house. She looks me in the eye and says, thank you for a fun time. I honestly never expect to ever meet you again. This was almost as fun as the time I got electrocuted. I believe about 30 seconds before this, I had come back into reality from the experiences that I had just been through, when I literally heard that line come out of her mouth. I responded with, what? She proceeds to tell me a story, completely out of the blue, about every experience that her body had been through in her 21 years of life. Mind you, it's honestly incredibly crazy. She began with, I have plastic in my body from a botched surgery, I have been electrocuted 3 times, I have had a miscarriage, an abortion, I have had cancer, I have been married and divorced, and I also have anemia and if I were to have a nosebleed I could actually die from bleeding so much. After she says all of this, she just smiles like it's no big deal. I just said, I have to get back, have a nice night. When she got out, I literally spun gravel out of the driveway trying to haul as much butt as I could back to civilization. I literally am driving the fastest I have ever driven before and I finally make it back to campus. I sit in my vehicle in the parking lot for about 10 minutes and say to myself, you're a complete effing idiot. Was it worth it, you stupid son of a weenie? Never spoke to her again. Waited a few years before I even told anyone about the experience. What is your creepiest hotel story? This happened in London. I have 2 friends with me that are both male, and we're staying in a 9-bed mixed dorm. There's 3 sets of 3-tier bunk beds. I'm in the bottom bed of the right bunk, friend 1 in the top of my bunk, friend 2 in the bottom bed of the middle bunk. So, we get in at 2 a.m. and all just quietly get in our beds. After a few minutes of lying there trying to sleep, I hear rustling behind me as I'm lying on my side facing the wall. So I think it is just someone going through their bag and ignoring it. Then I feel a hand on my hip over the cover. I turn round and it's a random guy telling me to move over and trying to pull at my cover. I initially thought he was intoxicated and wasn't sure which bed to be in, so I told him to go find his own bed, and then he shuffled away to the bottom bed of the left bunk. Then he comes back again. I again tell him to go back to his own bed and he shuffles back to his own again. This happens another couple of times, with me gradually speaking louder and getting less polite, telling him to get away. So I'm shaking cause the situation is making me nervous, and message my mate that's on the top bunk, saying I don't think I'm going to be able to sleep that night. He messages back casually thinking it's because of someone snoring. This is when I find out both my mates have earplugs in, and although they've heard me speaking, they each thought I was speaking to the other friend. So I tell him the situation and he starts keeping an eye out. I hear the guy go to the bathroom that is en suite, but I can tell from the light he left the bathroom door open whilst doing so and refused to look. My mate fills me in that the guy was walking around with his pants down and deliberately left the door open to get me to look, but either way the guy goes back to his bed after and we think the situation is finally over. Then it happens again. My mate, keeping an eye out, shines his phone light on the floor and shouts at the guy. Apparently he was crawling across the floor again towards me. The guy suddenly takes offense at my mate's light shining on him and starts actually climbing the bunk ladder like King Kong to get to my mate on the top and was trying to take his phone. They wrestle for a while with my mate actually kicking the guy in the neck to try and keep him away, only for the guy to swing backwards and come straight back at him again. I use this time to run for security, who find the guy still hanging on the bed when they get there, then call the police and have the guy taken away in a riot van and banned from the building. Whilst the police had dragged him outside waiting for the riot van, the guy even head-butted the brick wall several times. No idea what that guy was because it wasn't alcohol, but definitely something to take a kick to the neck and still act like nothing happened afterwards. Who was the worst houseguest you ever had over? There was this guy I was friends with in high school who moved away. Let's call him Theo. Well, I moved to Seattle for college. Partway through my second semester, out of nowhere, I get a call from Theo. Before I can even say hello, he says, "Hey, I came to visit. You're in the dorms, right? I'll be there in 10 minutes. Well, I'm a bit stunned, but back then I didn't have much in the way of a spine, so I just mumbled okay and went to meet up with him. I don't even fully remember what we ended up doing that day. I think I showed him around and we caught a bus into the city to go to the aquarium or something. I just remember that it was a little awkward seeing him unexpectedly after so long, but since we used to be close, I figured maybe he was just homesick and wanting to reconnect with someone familiar since he'd just gone off to college as well. He was talking about how he apparently had a serious boyfriend now. He said he was gay. The day wears on, and he makes it clear he intends to stay with me since he can't afford a hotel and his car is too small to sleep in. Alright, fine, I cleared it with my dorm mate and she's okay with it. I only have one set of bedding and my roommate doesn't have extras, so I tell Theo he can crash on the floor and take the pillow and blanket, and I'll sleep on the actual bed and use my towel as a blanket. Well, about 15 minutes into this arrangement and he's dramatically tossing and turning, groaning, and complaining about how the floor hurts his back. Meanwhile I'm freezing because it's early March in Seattle and I don't have a blanket. He asks if he can crash in the bed with me, and mostly to shut him up. I say sure. He gets in bed, I start to drift off again, and then all of a sudden he's clearly trying to initiate stuff. Like, 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. I shove him away and ask what the hell he thinks he's doing. He says he thought I was coming onto him all day. I put the kibosh on that immediately and tell him if he pulls that again he's sleeping on the floor. He pipes down for a minute, then wakes me up again to talk about how his boyfriend gave him a disease, and whips his junk out to show me. At that point, I give up and I sleep on the floor. He gets the hint. Praise be. The next morning I woke up to Theo coming back into the room from the showers, wearing my towel and shower shoes, and telling me that he didn't like my shampoo because it's gritty. Turns out, he used up most of the bottle of my expensive medicated face wash, thinking it was shampoo for some reason. For some reason that was the final straw, and I told him I was going to go get a cup of coffee and he'd better be gone when I got back. He thankfully was, but I discovered everything in my drawers had been messed with and rearranged. I had the foresight to bring my purse, wallet, and laptop with me, at least. Later that day, I got a text about how it hurt his feelings that I was so judgmental and unwelcoming. I kindly requested he lose my number.